Hi all. These are generally conversations between adults after the children have left the table. The language can be spicy and the subjects can get saucy. So if you're ready, this is the Southern Fork. Unscripted kitchen chats and also studio chats with some of the most interesting voices in the culinary South. I'm Stephanie Burt, a food and beverage writer based in Charleston, South Carolina, who travels with her fork to write for a variety of publications, from magazines you might have on your coffee table to the website you love to visit for your favorite recipes. And I'm inviting you to come behind the scenes with me to get to know the people who make this Southern culinary landscape so special. I'm always hungry for the next bite, thirsty for that next sip, and ready for the next conversation. Let's dig in. The Southern Fork is supported by Smithy Ironware. By now, if you've listened to this show, then you know how my relationship with this cast iron company has blossomed through the years. From first interviewing founder Isaac Morton to now developing recipe content for their website. My relationship cooking with cast iron in my home kitchen has grown too. Since I've been using my 12-inch Smithy skillet for a couple of years now, it seems the more I use it, the more I want to use it. And it's never hard to clean because I have one of their signature chainmail scrubbers that I can keep by the sink, pop in the dishwasher, and reuse. It's sustainable, something you know I love, and I'll also put that scrubber to work on my glass baking dishes too. As a special gift for Southern Fork listeners, Smithy's giving away a scrubber with every purchase from their site that uses the code SFORK19. Visit smithy-ironware.com. That's Smithy with an E, SMITHEY, ironware.com to check out the growing line of skillet sizes. And remember, at the checkout, type in the code SFORK19 to get your chainmail scrubber. Now, what does it feel like to be recognized by the James Beard Foundation as the best chef in America? Let's find out, shall we? When Ashley Christensen of Raleigh, North Carolina, stepped behind the podium at the James Beard Awards almost 2 weeks ago to receive its Outstanding Chef Award, she was ready to accept that medal and give us a heartfelt speech. Her attitude wasn't pompous or flippant, but almost an, okay then, let's do this together. And in many ways, that's how this outstanding chef has approached her work, going all in, learning the craft, celebrating the ingredients of her beloved North Carolina region at Poole's Diner, Death and Taxes, and more, and practicing paying attention to the building of a community, of a company, and of the chefs who work around her. She's found her medium, food, to express her vision of kindness, comfort, and connection. But there's also a relentless striving for excellence that informs her work. I am so thrilled that those times we talked about recording together the past few years didn't work out, so that I would get the chance to chat with her in this very moment, back in her city, where she sat down with me and my dog Petunia. This isn't a chef who is going to rest on her laurels. She's just getting started. Welcome to the Southern Fork, Ashley.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, well, thanks for coming to my hotel room at the Residence Inn in downtown Raleigh with my dog, Petunia, who is also going to be joining us for the interview today.
Our co-host.
She's just mainly a snorter. So, because we really should just talk about the elephant in the room, so you can discuss it for the 800th time that you've done this week. How does it feel to be the best chef in the United States?
It feels, the acknowledgement feels incredible. And, of course, getting to come home and bring that award home to North Carolina for the first time. And then to my city of Raleigh. It just feels great. And we stayed in Chicago for a day after and sort of let it all sink in, and then came home the next day, and coming home has never felt better.
I just happened to be in the restaurant when you walked in. Yeah. That worked out real well for me. I wanted to ask you about home. Because a lot of chefs and we'll talk about the cuisine and that stuff, but really you're doing something bigger, which is creating community, that sense of home. And a lot of chefs feel like they have to go out and off and do all of these, cook all over the world before they settle.
Yeah.
And that is not your path. That wasn't your path.
Correct.
So you're cooking from a place of home. Can you talk about what that means to you?
Sure. I think as a young cook, when I thought about how my journey would work, I really imagined moving to a city like New York or San Francisco. And that was just sort of a goal that was out there that I felt was necessary to really expand my, culinary horizons and just to get new perspective. And I don't think that I had any idea where I ultimately wanted to be. And then as I started to cook, I moved to Raleigh to go to school at NC State. I grew up about 90 miles west of here in a small town called Kernersville.
Shout out to Kernersville. That's the only time you're really going to hear that. This week.
This week. That's my mom lives there still in the home I grew up in. And so I started cooking in this community and having that thing in my mind, thinking, in a year or two, I'm going to go do this other thing. And then the downtown here, there was a major focus on revitalization. And it was something so powerful to me that there was a plan, it was shared, and then it was like put into action. And the change was happening really fast in a way that we could really connect with the feeling and the energy of the city that you've been a part of, watching it grow to its potential. And so that really stood out to me. And then my friend Eliza Kraft Olander, who was a patron of a place called Inoteca Vin, where I was the chef for 7.5 years, she got me years ago involved in doing some charity work. And it just kind of blew my mind, the restaurant's ability to guide community towards a great cause. And through that journey with her, she's now one of my best friends in the world and biggest supporters. And we have come to really do quite a bit of high level fundraising for a number of causes. But when I watched how folks in the community cared about things we cared about and expressed that and thanked us for the leadership, I started to really feel a connection with it. And then there's another thing that happens, I think, as you grow and find your voice in food,
or any creative pursuit, really.
The way that I felt like the way that people expressed their support to me, it just became such a wild and amazing thing. And I just sort of looked up one day and realized that, this place is the journey. This is where I want to be centered and anchored. And it also doesn't hurt that Raleigh-Durham Airport is one of the easiest airports to fly out of. And so I still get to have that world of going out and experiencing incredible food that defines all the different places that make up the United States and beyond. And so I kind of am having my cake and eating it too, getting to be in a place that's so...
It's a Wonderful Life, where he wants to leave all the time and he's going to leave. And then it just suddenly you realize he's made a life here.
Yeah. And a wonderful life it is.
So I know a lot of chefs and definitely a lot of kitchen life people listen to this show to wonder how people get to where you are.
Sure.
And in order to give yourself the space to think about community, because you need brain space to do that, you need time to meet with people, you got to be a badass chef in the kitchen.
Sure.
So that's on a different level. That's on a pilot where you're not, you're an expert in it. Mm-hmm. And then you can work from that place of power and comfort instead of having to work on that and work on this too.
Yes.
if a chef is starting out and wanting to get to that level, is there something that you did that you just dug in and you felt like that was the jet fuel that got you to that space of I can cook?
Yeah. I think that the greatest thing or one of my greatest achievements was maturing to a point where I sought criticism versus feeling boxed in by it. Mm-hmm. And again, to sing the praises of my community, I think this is a place where people tell you things because they care about your path and they know that you have the potential to make something great. So I learned a lot from my community and from listening to those folks. I also think when we opened up Poole's Diner, one of the things that we committed to doing was not being open all the days. And now we're open 7 days everywhere for the most part. And
but you built a staff to support that.
Yeah, and it's really hard, especially in owning your first restaurant, to spread yourself. It's hard to keep from spreading yourself too thin.
Right.
And it's something I think we're all paying a lot of attention to these days as we talk a lot about work environments and such. But so we were open 4 nights a week and a brunch for a handful of years, and that allowed us to build one team who learned how to work together and could learn from one another. And it gave me a different opportunity to really hone in what we were doing and to continue this journey of really finding my style.
Can't think when you're in the kitchen just grinding it out.
Yeah.
You got to kind of have that 10,000 foot elevation to look like what's happening here.
Yeah.
But if you're just recovering to do it all over again, you never get that.
Absolutely.
That's the freelance hustle, by the way.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, and it's, one of those things where the other thing that can be so daunting in our work is not being able to, knowing how something should be, but not having the resources to take it there. So that's one of the places I feel like when we jump into 7 days and 7 nights in a brand new space for a young chef, that it can be too much without the right support and experience. So that really gave me the time to define who we wanted to be, and then we sort of slowly added on. And in that process, we really learned a lot about. I listened to the people who were beside me in the kitchen and on the service team, and I remember someone pointing out that the bartenders were polishing glasses instead of making drinks, and we were running so slim at that time. But then when you look at it and you do the math and you go, okay, if I buy 100 more wine glasses, I'm going to make that up in the efficient sales over the course of a weekend, and then when you think about adding that extra support person, and it was just really amazing.
Listening.
Yeah, it was listening is huge. Yeah, and responding, not reacting, and so it was just a really great thing to have someone feel like they could access me and pull me aside and say, I was thinking about this, and we, just such an interesting thing. And another great example for me is that the diner has, the original bar stools, and every now and then one of those bar stools will break and we have to call in, a guy who's a metal worker to do some specialty welding to us to keep these bearings running in these beautiful old stools. And, we were so busy that I don't have time to fix the bar stool. I'm going to get to it. The bartender, one of our bartenders, Alan Brown, goes by AB, pretty famous bartender around these parts, is like, hey, when are we going to get that bar stool fixed? And I'm like, AB, I'm so busy. We're going to get to it. It'll probably be next week. And so he takes out a sheet of paper and he shows it to me and he says, this is what it cost you. This is what it cost you in sales, approximately based on our average sales, to not have that bar stool for 3 nights, and it's like, whoa. But the greatest lessons learned are always from, to me, people who mutually care about the goal with you, from guest to coworker. And but and then it's, as someone who can look back and speak about what we felt like we really did the right way there. The other version of that is that then we started to grow, and we just grew I hesitate to say way too fast, because I don't regret it, because there were such incredible lessons there. And I also feel like, now it gives me the opportunity to be a steward of proper growth, and to be able to advise folks on kind of what those things feel like, and how to make sure you're not doing it because anyone else made it look easy, or because everyone said you should, that it really should be, there's a deep exploration of concept and location and all those things. But, so, and how that connects to community work. I think one of the smartest ways to do that, and, we're involved in so many things now, and to me, that's my life's work. That's the thing that as a little bit later in life, when we start to, introduce a lot of our leaders to higher level positions and driving the ship even more than they already are. I look at that to be something that I want to spend at least half of my time doing. But as I think about how to properly start to go after that work and connecting with that, I think it's really important to decide how you want to do it, and not just to say yes to things you're asked for.
Right.
So, we are, as you know, and I'm sure you hear this all the time in this field, our inbox is packed with requests for, school things, and, for $100 gift cards for this or that, and raffles and auction items. And so we really, every now and then, depending on what it is, sometimes we might give a gift card if it's like gift cards that'll go to volunteers, that sort of thing. But, a handful of things that I'm sort of opposed to are the idea of like putting a $100 gift card up that, someone is hopeful of paying less than $100 for. So I think that we diminish the value of our industry and the cause at hand. I don't think like anything should ever be about how am I going to go to a charity auction and get the best deal possible. And I'm a big advocate for making sure that people understand that being at an event that people have given so much of themselves to create, that is that you're not buying dinner, you're buying an opportunity to give it a higher level and to have an experience that is unique from anything else.
It is an experience.
That's happening in the community at that time. So I think a lot about, I advise folks, like, think about something you really love and that you feel connected to that work and you want to support it. And then I think, go big, don't give 50 people a gift card. Get behind something, really champion it, help people to understand why you feel a connection to it, because that'll help them to see why they might feel a connection to it as well. But I think, being able to create an experience that tells the story of your brand, it's unique from anything else that anyone else could put on the table at that particular event. And then what we see is like that people can identify like, wow, this chef is going to come to my house and cook dinner for 10 of my friends. No one else in the world is going to have that experience that night. And I think that allows us to feel really healthy about the giving and the creation of the experience and what it energy wise, our contribution to that. And also like the work feels good. And that's the kind of thing that when you go back and you tell your team, I did this dinner and it sold for $30,000 and you're a part of that work and that's what we're doing. I think it can be inspiring at a whole different level. Yeah. And as we do so much stuff now, but like, to me, that's really important advice to folks who want to get involved in things. Cause then otherwise, if you're just saying yes to all this stuff, it becomes kind of a runaway train,
Yeah. You just feel pulled all the time. That's one of the biggest questions I think in any trajectory is how to say yes, how to say no, how to choose what you want. And you have to have a central core. So there is a piece about you and a central core to you, and you're in the middle of a circus now with, was it 140 employees?
270.
270. Yeah. Wow. You added 100 since I looked. No, just kidding. Just completely wrong number, Stephanie Bird. But and you're all over the country. You're doing things that are spokesperson. That space, do you have a space in your kitchen? Do you have a moment of time every day where you go, this is my time? Because I have a moment of time, like I don't do meetings usually before 10 because I need coffee and contemplation. I need to look at things. I need quiet. I need journal. I need reading things that aren't food. And, I need a moment.
Sure.
Do you have that?
I've been I've been searching for that space, and where I've found it in a few different places as of late. I like to reserve my Mondays. I try and not have meetings on Mondays. It's not always possible, but that to me is a great day to think, to give myself some creative space to sort of catch up and feel in control of the week.
Space.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And in our world, a lot happens over the weekend, so like for Monday to be a day to like process or reset some things, carve out some time for menu writing and bigger thinking in the creative sense for me.
Daily menus at Pools. No big deal.
And then I started doing, I was trying to find the fitness plan that was right for me, and for a lot of reasons, but most of all just for feeling good and sleeping well and, just really being able to have a daily reset. And a friend of mine a group of friends actually introduced me to Orange Theory Fitness. And I love the class, and I try right now, I try to do it like 4 to 6 days a week. Wow. And what's amazing about it is it's in all these different cities, and I'm on the road a lot, and that is always the thing that supports my excuse is like, oh, well, I was somewhere and I went and the gym was tiny and people were on all the equipment, or, I didn't have time because I'd have to, find a class and they're just everywhere, like I was in Austin doing, a South by Southwest event and was trying to find the class that seemed closest, and I figured out it was in the bottom of the building I was staying in.
Oh, that's fun.
And so that's been really amazing.
So that's an anchor, and it feels like home when you walk in.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Even in another city. And here, the location that I go to is an 8-minute drive in the mornings for me, and it's kind of wild, but like I love that. I love having 8 minutes. It's just me in the car. It's a really easy stretch of road, and I just listen to some music. I get that 8 minutes on the way there, and I get that 8 minutes on the way back. And that's ask any restaurant person, they'll tell you that like 16 minutes of you time is a pretty huge thing.
Yeah, that's great. Those are great. Now, before we ask the final questions, I have to mention, I know everybody talks about the macaroni and cheese, and I know that it's your signature thing, but those greens I had the other night were the best greens of my life. And so since everyone talks about the macaroni and cheese, can we just talk about these greens for just a second?
So I think you had the really beautiful spinach that's coming from our farmer's market right now. Or are you talking?
I think it was collard. I think it was spinach. It had
sliced garlic. Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, like the macaroni au gratin, it's a simple thing that can be so amazing when you put thought and care into the steps of it. So that mac and cheese is so special because it's made to order, and it's like every single batch of it is tasted, and multiple times. And but the spinach is one of those things where it's mandolin thin garlic and a touch of chilies, and the spinach just being you put it in the pan, cut it off, roll it in that beautiful garlic oil, and I think that's one of those great moments in cooking when you can explain, and your shoulders are lifted as you're explaining the texture of how it feels, and it's those are the things I love, and it's really less about.
I could have eaten like 3 plates of those for sure, because it was satisfying and delicious, but the texture was really great, but it wasn't. Me, as somebody who eats greens almost every day, I love, all kinds of greens, but I have, sometimes I can get them too oily, or I can get, so.
I feel very loved when I eat greens.
I do too.
And I just love vegetables. It is very, very seldom that we ever put any type of meat into a vegetable. I think that the soil of this place we live is just so unbelievable, and to be able to have that amazing connection to it by letting things be what they are, and just really, wrapping just some love around them. So.
Oh man. Well, that brings me to a question. You know what makes me hungry? Greens. What makes you hungry?
Well, vegetables are a huge passion of mine. We'll be coming into tomato season. I would say the 2 things that I love the most and think about their whole growing cycle and what they mean to the place I live are just beautiful tomatoes. And at that temperature that they are when they're just picked off the vine, there's just
like
nothing
body
like
temperature.
Yeah, exactly. And field peas. I think field peas are such a neat connector for conversation and all the different places they're grown. And that's one of the things we take great pride in. We have a commissary kitchen that's our hub. All of our directors work there. We've got that's sort of our HQ, and then our events kitchen, our prep kitchens, our pastry and bread teams work there. It's an old sandwich factory, and we have these walk-ins that we redid all the mechanics of, but we also added a freezer to match that's 25 feet deep and 10 feet wide. And I knew that would allow us to really take all of our trim and be able to make smart plans of how to utilize stuff. But I also wanted my field pea locker. And this is the first year that we have made it all the way through.
Oh my goodness.
And what we have left, we've got some white acres and some butter beans left right now. We're done with our pink eyes and our Crowder peas. But
one of the best things to freeze ever.
Oh, so great.
And,
so great.
I think that was the first thing that I ever ate that you had cooked was field peas. And it was at Charleston Wine and Food a couple years ago at the Willie Macon house for one of the big dinners there. So... yeah, and I remember taking a picture of it. I don't remember exactly the variety of peas. So, second, what is your job is many things, but what is one aspect of your job that shows off something that seems to fit really well with your personality?
Well, I think service and kindness, being able to, we're at a really neat center of the community where I do believe we have the opportunity to inspire folks and to be a resource. And I work with my teams to explain, we're doing a really special thing. I'm very proud of what we're doing, but remember how lucky we are when you go out into the world. And if you have a meal somewhere that you're like, oh, that could have been so much better, don't talk about that. Don't go out and speak in the community about that. Think about what would have made it better and put those thoughts, channel that energy into our cooking. And then, I think just having I want so much to create an opportunity for folks to come to work, feel healthy at work and healthy and happy at home, and, to feel successful in both of those places. So that to me is what I have the opportunity to contribute to the most.
Mm-hmm. That's great. What keeps you up at night?
The world. I think the world is a really scary place right now, and it's can be really hard to stay positive. There's so many things that I want to say they're out of our control, but they're not, as long as we use our voices and use our votes and really keep pumping that message into the world that we've got a chance for this to be an awesome, positive place and for it to be around for a long time.
Right.
But it's all based on the decisions we make right now. And I think a lot of people have there are nights where I don't sleep at all, and I realize it's just because I overheard too much news that day, or it's a lot to process.
It's a very odd thing to have to limit yourself, and if you slide down that scale of not limiting yourself, you can really see it degrade your just your whole being.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's a very interesting place to be if you're not paying attention, because you live in the news cycle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then we are not going to see you on death row.
Thanks. Thanks for believing in me.
But I can't cook like you. But if I had to cook your death row meal or get it for you, somewhere, I need to be your collector of things. What is that meal that one meal that you need to savor? Yeah,
I think it would be the things we've already discussed. I think it would be just those field peas and their own pot liquor and a beautiful sliced tomato with a little bit of crunchy salt on top. Roast chicken is, and it's the answer I've been given for years and years and years, but I think it is.
It's like a hug.
And it can just be so incredible, and it's a simple thing. And my favorite foods are, luxury is fun, but luxury isn't what fuels and feeds us at our core. I think it's the things that just make you feel so connected. And
I've never really thought about it that way.
Yeah, that's my arena. That's the, when we love to touch all those other fun things too, but that's what centers our cooking is comfort and elevating beautiful ingredients, but again, like not overwhelming them.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm a little bit overwhelmed because I have, tears in my eyes most of this interview. But if people want to learn more about Ashley Christensen, Raleigh, North Carolina, and why I feel the need to drive up here as often as possible since visiting, please go to thesouthernfork.com. I'm going to have links there to Ashley's growing family of restaurants. I also want to shout out to Miss Cappy Pete, episode 3, who is now with AC Restaurants.
Badass number 1. She's awesome.
And she said, if you don't say my name during this podcast, I'm going to be really angry. No, she didn't actually. But that's a good point, because if you like what you hear, there are close to 140 other episodes in the archives. You can get them wherever you stream audio. Petunia doesn't know how to download podcasts, but it's almost easy enough that she could do it. And she doesn't have opposable thumbs. So thank you so much for coming today. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Hello, and welcome to Talking with a Mouthful. Today I want to talk a little bit about an article that I wrote recently for Savoir magazine. Actually, it was an online article at savoir.com. Read this article in full if you go to thesouthernfork.com/host and click on the Savoir logo. It will be right there waiting for you. But it really is about the idea that the South is headed in a new culinary direction. And I believe that that is true. I believe that we have a Southern Renaissance in progress right now. And a lot of you are interested in how I choose guests for this show and how I write about the South. And I like to actually think about the idea of the South as a theoretical place. But when it comes to cooking and cuisine, it is much more than a style of cooking. So I focus on Southern geography. So for me, anybody that is located in the South, which I consider DC to be the South and Maryland to be the South, all the way south and then west to Texas, that to me is the geography. I can also talk to Southern expats. In other words, people that are bringing that idea of the Southern landscape, at least through their cooking, into other places. So that's why I've actually spoken with Smith in Chicago, and I've also spoken with Jean-Paul Bourgeois at Blue Smoke in both DC and New York City. So those places have people in them actually cooking from their experience in the Southern landscape. So to me, the Southern landscape is much more diverse than a lot of publications and a lot of writers give it credit for. I hear a lot of people that are not from here say, well, I don't like grits and okra, so I don't need everything fried. So therefore, Southern food doesn't have much for me. To me, Southern food is tamales. Southern food is actually really great brisket marinated in Vietnamese spices. In Texas, it is beautiful coconut cake in deep South Mississippi, as well as a wonderful Indian chickpea dish in North Carolina. So when you think about the South and when you think about the Southern Fork, what I'm trying to do is really show you the diversity of the Southern landscape. So please click on Savoir, share that piece, and then dive into the archives and listen to some of the podcasts that you've missed before. The South is very diverse, and we're so excited to celebrate it. Until next time.
You've been listening to The Southern Fork.
I can't wait to bring you more culinary conversations, but in the meantime, I have one question. Are you gonna eat all that?